What's happening? It's Darian, I'm out to the South Gray, and there's been a bunch of big games this year. And this, the biggest game of the week for sure, Saints versus Bucs 2. I think it's also the biggest game of the year thus far. It's not just Brady versus Breeze, and this could be their last time matching up. That's cool. But it's also about the teams, the stakes, the pressure, and the attention. And this matchup has all of it. I'm going to elaborate more on Point Blank, period.
You can sleep when you die. Point blank, period.
And you know this, man.
The preseason favorites in the NFC were the Saints and 49ers. And now it's the Bucs and Seahawks. Same division, different teams. So now you got a preseason favorite going against the current favorite. Well, that's just a matchup in itself that's big. But what makes this matchup truly huge for me between the Bucs and the Saints is the fact that this game has the ability and potential to shape the perception of each team going forward this season. The Saints, like I said, came in looking great. They beat the Buccaneers in the first week, and people are saying, okay, this confirms what we believe. They didn't need much time to get it in gear. This team can get it together. But then they lost 2 games in a row to the Packers and the Raiders. People started talking about Breeze being washed. Hell, I can't say nothing. I was a part of that group. I was criticizing him, saying how he was hesitant to pull the trigger. I questioned if he was truly still a killer. And I talked about how he was inaccurate in that Raiders game. But Breeze has gotten significantly better. And it looks like he may have just needed some time to ramp up, right? Nothing wrong with that. We just didn't think he would need it. But in these last 4 weeks, the Saints have rattled off 4 straight victories and are sitting at 5-2, which I think is not exactly looked at because the Bucs are 6-2. But we'll get to that 2 losses for each team in a little bit. With the Saints, not much is being talked about as far as their win streak, and I'm not here to boo-hoo and cry about it because I understand it. They haven't been pretty victories. They've been down, they've let teams come back, but they've still won the game. But ugly wins don't get discussed as much. Now they're in a high-profile matchup where you have to talk about it. And I think that a win against the Bucs, regardless of the score, will put the league on notice. Now let's look at the Bucs and their perception. Perceived coming into the year as a team that had a lot of potential and could put it together, especially by myself, that's how I expressed them. So they lost to the Saints the first week, and teams, not teams, but fans, I believe were like, okay, the Saints are good. We get it. But they gave the Bucs rightfully time to gel together and get it together. And boy, did they gel. Especially on that defensive side of the ball, which that defense is the reason I think they are the only and most complete team in the NFC. And after whipping up on the Packers, they became the top dogs in the conference. You know, and since week 1, the Saints and Bucs have been on a collision course with the Bucs seeking redemption. So let's have a little crash talk. Let's talk about it like this. In the NFC South Division, you have the Saints at 5-2, the Bucs at 6-2. The Bucs are only in first place by a half game. And that's huge because it's not talked about. Now we're not talking about perception. We're talking about reality and what it really is. And that's what it is, a half game, simply because the Bucs have played 1 more game. But a loss to the Saints this week would mean the Saints would have 2 losses while the Bucs would have 3. So the Saints would be in first place. And the Bucs would not have the benefit of being able to tie with the Saints. They would have to flat out beat the Saints, which means they essentially would have a 2-game deficit. I'm looking at it like this. I've already told you that the Saints could put the league back on notice with a victory. While the Bucs will submit their status as the best team in the conference. So you got one team trying to submit their status as the best team in the conference, and you got the Saints trying to push their way back into that conversation and say, hey, I understand we had a rough patch, but don't forget about us. We're getting our weapons back. Please remember that we still about that, and we still one of those teams that can really move up and be a Super Bowl contender coming out of this conference. The stakes are immensely high, and that's the reason why it's on Sunday Night Football. Brady, Breeze, that's cool. I love the storyline. But I'm looking at Saints versus Bucs. These are 2 teams fighting it out for divisional supremacy and also conference supremacy. And this is the biggest game of the year. Point blank, period.